Welcome back to TaraChessAcademy, and in today's video, we are going to look at a position from the game of a Grandmaster.
Hi everyone!
Hi everyone!
Yeah, for today we prepared interesting video, so let's start. In the position on the chessboard, we're gonna play for black. Black has to get an extra material, yeah? You can see black pieces are pretty close to the position of the white king, yeah? So maybe we can also try some mate ideas. So let's think what we could start with. By the way, for now, I see that the white bishop on b6 is undefended, yeah? So maybe we can just capture it with a rook and that's all, the game is over. So Tara, what do you think? What should we start with?
So, as you said, I just wanted to analyze the variation of rook captures b3 to make sure that everyone understands why it's incorrect, in case if you didn't find the solution yet. So after rook captures b3, then white has one of two moves. They could either move the queen down to e8, which is okay, but it's not the best. However, rook to e8 is much better because after rook to e8, then the king is in check, and he's actually in checkmate because he can't escape here since the queen is protecting that square.
Yeah, so let's discuss. Rook takes b6 looks like a big mistake. So as I said before, the game is over, yeah, but over for black, not for white. So rook d8 is mate in 1, yeah. So you see this queen is guarding h7. By the way, let's keep this in mind. Who knows, maybe it's gonna help us to solve the puzzle. Yeah, so that's why kind of like poison the bishop, yeah, so it's better not to capture it. Okay, so rook takes b6 doesn't work, but we still shouldn't forget about the rule of candidate moves. We should think about checks, captures, attack, and moves. So we have tried a capture already. Rook takes b6 is a bad idea. So who knows, maybe we have some good checks. So Tara, please, what ideas do you have?
So let's take a look at some of the checks, as you said. So I can see queen h2, queen g2, queen h1, and queen f1. So out of all these checks, I believe that queen h2 looks the best because it's the only one that actually keeps the queen safe. So my idea is after queen h2, the king is going to escape. But can the queen make a checkmate? Well, if it moves to h1, the queen is just going to capture it, right? So that variation doesn't look great. So this is a good check, but it's only for one move because on the second move, we can't make a checkmate.
Yeah, of course, maybe also would be nice to mate in 1 with queen f2, but yeah, this bishop is guarding f2 in this position. Okay,
Yes.
so we don't have mate in 1. I don't see any other good checks. Yeah, I mean, queen h3, maybe the king like just escapes even back to g1, but I think it should be maybe even better to get like to e1. So that's why now it looks like it's not time for a check, yeah? But now maybe we can think about overworked pieces, yeah, overloaded pieces. So for now, I see that the white queen's defending h1 square, but same time it's still guarding h7, yeah? So actually, that's why we can't capture the bishop on b6, yeah? We have already discussed this. Yeah, rook d8 would be just mate. So maybe we can do something to the white queen, yeah, like attack it. So if we want the queen to move away from e4.
Well, there's a couple of ways to attack the queen. We could move the knight to f6. We can move the rook to e8. We could move the knight to f2. So plenty of ways to attack the queen. And don't forget, there's also pawn to f5. So out of these couple of moves, I believe that pawn to f5 seems the most reasonable because you're only losing a pawn, so you're losing a little at the expense of not too much. So you play pawn to f5, and let's say the queen captures the pawn. So after the
Mhm.
queen captures the pawn, we have plenty of ideas. We can move the queen to h1, and by the way, that's checkmate, so we're definitely going to play that move.
Yeah, so of course queen takes f5 is not a good idea.
Yeah,
So,
so the
but
queen probably wants to stay on the same diagonal to make sure that it's controlling the square h1.
yeah,
So
but
let's
also,
consider.
sorry, Tara, for interrupting you. Also, I was thinking about this check on a6. Yeah, maybe like after this check, white also gets some time to defend position of the king or to attack the black king. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to play king h7, yeah, because of the check. So maybe the king goes to h8, yeah, and for now, I think white should have time maybe to escape with the king. So,
Mhm,
or just like to avoid this. So, I don't know, maybe king e1. So rook takes b6, yeah, we still have to think about something like this. Yeah, so we have queen f5,
mhm.
yeah, and mate. So if the checks happens, yeah, queen g1 or queen h1, the king escapes. I mean, there is no check on d8, yeah. The queen is attacked. You still can't capture the pawn on f2. So I mean, like somehow white, yeah, can handle this position. So that's why pawn f5 move maybe doesn't look so great, because like maybe it's better not to open this diagonal yet to avoid queen e6 check.
Right. So going back to the one of the earlier moves that we discussed, rook captures b3. Well, what would happen here is that the rook is going to give a check because the queen is controlling the square h7. So
Mm-hmm.
an idea I have is to move my rook to e1. So could you go a couple of moves back, please? Thank you. So instead of capturing the bishop, one idea I have is rook to e8 because after the queen captures the rook, then I'm going to move my king to h7, and then if you give me another check on e5, then
Mm-hmm.
I'll
E4.
just play pawn to g6.
Yeah, but I think in this position, white just has an extra rook. Yeah, h1 is
Mhm.
defended, so it's not such a big problem. So, okay, I think I can even play king u1, yeah, with idea later to escape. So it should be enough for me to win the game, right? So the problem
Right.
is that when we play rook e8 in this position, white captures the rook with check, right?
hmm
So,
So we could eliminate that move, right? Because it doesn't look so great.
mm-hmm,
So this move doesn't seem too great. We already discussed, well, of course, the bishop is guarding this square and the queen is guarding this square. So we have to find something better than this because the moves we calculated so far don't look too great. And don't forget that rook captures b3 doesn't look too great.
mm-hmm.
So what other ideas do you have?
So I would use the knight, probably.
So maybe we could consider moving the knight to f6 to attack
Mm-hmm.
the queen. And after this, the queen is going to move away, but it wants to make sure it's controlling h1. So the queen could capture this pawn on f6,
Yeah, queen takes c6.
on
I also
c6.
want to notice that it's not possible for the white queen to control h1 and h7 anymore. Yeah, same time. So that's why, yeah, queen takes c6. Of course, like let's say the priority is to defend h1 first, but then h7 becomes like available for the king. So what would you do, Tara, after queen takes c6?
So after queen takes c6, this position is kind of tough. If let's consider capturing the bishop to figure out if it's good or not. So at the start of the game, it wasn't too great, but let's see if it still holds up. If the queen moves to c8, the king is going to escape, and we get a very similar position to what we had before, and the queen might even give another check, and then it could just pick up this pawn on a5 and attack the rook.
Yeah, but don't forget that you still want to mate in one. Yeah, so I mean, like,
Right,
uh,
yeah.
black just has an extra knight. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so and no problems at all. So yeah, after rook takes b6, yeah, checks like don't work. Even if white checks the black king, it's not a problem at all. So it's not good to capture the rook because of mate in one on h1. So you see, it looks like the queen is so close to the bishop, but the bishop is still like undefended, right? So after rook takes b6, white played queen f3. So what would you do then?
Okay, so after queen f3, I have a very interesting and super cool move. And this move is probably the move of the game. So pause the video, see if you can figure out the solution for yourself. And once you figure out some ideas or come up with the solution, then you can come back to the video. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the solution. So the correct answer is rook to b3. And by the way, by correct, I don't mean the correct move, I just mean that it's the best move in this position. Because if the queen does capture the rook, we're going to make a checkmate on the next move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why, like, it's not good to capture the rook. In the game, queen g2 was played. Yeah, so black can't avoid trading queens, but I think it's not a problem. So we just get an extra material. So takes, yeah. And we can capture the pawn on b2. So in this end game, black has a knight for 2 pawns. Yeah, maybe would be better to get one more pawn. So this pawn on e2 is undefended. Yeah, let's see what happens if white tries to defend it with king f3.
Okay, so now we have some more tactics which are super cool, but you also have to be very precise because if you change up the order, it could mess things up. So be very careful in your calculations and see if you can figure out the best move for black. So if you're back, you might have found rook to c2. Because
Mm-hmm.
after rook to c2, you're planning to attack this pawn. And when the rook protects this pawn, so could you go ahead and make that move? Then you
I
can
can.
move the rook to c3. You attack the king and the pawn. After the king moves, you capture the pawn. And if the rook blocks the check, you could capture this pawn.
On c4. Yeah, so position is nice. Yeah, nice endgame. So that's
Yes,
why
so
rook b3 doesn't look so great. Yeah, so like
mhm,
this move. But I mean, still this endgame should be winning for black even after rook trades. But I think it's better to get as many pawns as we can. So yeah, after rook c2,
mhm,
it looks like white has nothing to do. Even if rook d8 happens, yeah, with this idea. Okay, we still have rook c3, yeah, and we get the pawn on
mhm.
a3. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's consider the future of this position. We attack the king, we're going to capture this pawn no matter what. And you might be wondering if the pawn can actually do something. So let's look down the road and see if it actually has any purpose. So let's consider pawn to c5.
Yeah, I
Then
think.
maybe we get the rook here to
Mm-hmm.
add some pressure. And now we're creating a new pawn of our own. So it's kind of like a pawn race. And
Yeah,
if we really,
so the knight
sorry to
also should
interrupt, but
be, sorry.
okay, so I was just going to say that if the knight moves to d5, then oh, oops. So if the knight moves to d5, then we have some pressure on c2. So we're kind of stopping the pawn from moving to c2. And if you move your king here, well, you could, that kind of does seem like a good move. But you could move the knight to b5, and now you're protecting this square. So you have a whole bunch of plans here, and if everything fails, then you have this pawn that's going to win. And even if you lose your rook somehow, so if the rook is gone, you could just march your pawn up the board, and black's position seems great. So yeah, this is a pretty good position. We can promote our pawn. The rook is working in the game. The knight is part of the game. You can even bring the king in closer. And then you have all these pieces working together in harmony. So it's a very beautiful position for black to play.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe later we can also try to use the king in the game. Yeah, but for now, even if the pawn gets to c7, just playing knight d5 and attacking it should be enough. But meanwhile, black also can use this pawn. So like, um, position of the black rook is active, yeah, behind the white pawn. So like, if black doesn't blunder, white can't do anything in this position. So just a
Right.
winning game for black.
Mhm. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to others. I'll see you on my next video. Bye!
Bye.